What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another Ginger Runner Live, episode number 63. And tonight I have a good friend of mine, an incredible runner. I get to talk to him about all sorts of things, including course records, running the Boston Marathon, doing both of these things back-to-back weeks. We're going to be picking his brain tonight and learning all about how Alex Varner does it, because no matter how many times I have him on the show, I still just like sit here and ogle at how he does it. The guy is extremely fast, and I believe that the year 2015 is going to be the year of the Varner. I'm calling it now. It's still pretty early on. There's a lot of races left that he's got to run, and we're going to talk a bit about all of them on tonight's show. Sit back, relax, welcome everybody. Glad you're watching live, and get ready for some Ginger Runner Live. Ginger Runner. Yeah, what's up, everybody? So glad to see you, and by see you, I mean, I imagine that you're there somewhere, because you can see me and I can't see you. Very excited about tonight's show. I get to have a guest on that I really wish Alex could just come on every week, because he's entertaining, he's funny, he's a nice dude. He's incredibly fast, incredibly talented, and we get to pick his brain. If you are watching live, I encourage you to ask all the questions you've ever had about what it's like to be an elite sponsored athlete who kicks ass almost every single weekend racing and stuff like that. And fresh off a course record at Lake Sonoma 50 a couple of weeks ago, and fresh off an incredible performance at Boston during the Boston Marathon as well, 9 days after Lake Sonoma's course record run. It's pretty damn impressive. This guy is amazing, and I'm excited to have him back on the show, Mr. Alex Varner. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Would never
be here.
Yeah, dude, I would never pass up the opportunity to have you on the show. I'm glad that you were able to join me tonight. And I know that Varner is like me and enjoys the occasional adult beverage and the occasional beer. Tonight I'll be drinking from Golden Road. I love them, local brewery, Hefeweizen. What are you drinking, Alex?
I have a Sierra Nevada Blindfold Black IPA.
Hey, nice.
It's been in my fridge for a while, and it's time it found a new home in my stomach.
I noticed the background is new. Have you moved? You didn't move.
I have. Yes. No more trying to cover up my bare curtain rods with miscellaneous hats and whatnot. So yeah, I'm now in a new apartment, which is bigger and has better land person situation.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm renting the lower unit from a buddy of mine, Mark McManus, who is the coach of the Bay Birds and Bay Bros. And I've known him for probably 10 years.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So yeah, it worked out very well, and it's a good place, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the new digs.
Well, it looks much nicer. I'm enjoying the background. Big upgrade.
It's also the internet is also better.
There you go. That's one thing. People in the chat room are already freaking out because I'm wearing the V-neck, and I only wear the deep V when I really mean business, Alex. So apparently tonight I'm trying to impress you. I'm even showing off a little chest hair. I mean business. This is it.
Business end of things always works for me.
Before we kind of get into the show, there's a couple of business announcements I want to talk about for those of you who are watching live before I start picking Alex's brain. First and foremost, I have to talk about Nepal and the earthquake that happened there. My thoughts go out to everyone that was affected. I know that Brian Powell, a former guest of the show, and even Megan Hicks was on the show a couple of weeks ago. Brian Powell was there for a race, the Mustang circuit, and my thoughts go out to him, the whole team. It sounds like all the runners are safe, but there's still a lot that's going on there, and they're still finding victims, and it's a huge tragedy. In the link of this live show, in the description, I actually put a link to the Red Cross donation page. So if you feel the need or want to help out in any way that you can, there is a link in the description of this video. So again, my thoughts go out to all the victims in Nepal. Huge tragedy, and I can't even imagine being there. And from what I've heard from anyone that's visited the region, the people are the nicest, most genuine, helpful people on the planet that they've ever met. So I look forward to the day that I get to visit that nation and meet these people and hopefully help out in any way that I can. Also on the same wavelength, an ultra runner legend, Tom Green, the first to complete the Grand Slam in ultra running, also fell victim to an unfortunate accident, and he has set up a GoFundMe page, or I believe it's his family, set up a GoFundMe page as well to help pay for his medical bills, which are mounting. I Run Far has talked about it as well. I put a link to that GoFundMe in the description of this video as well. I would be remiss to not mention him, because he has been ultra running long before many of today's athletes were even born, or even thinking about running those long distances. So my thoughts also go out to him, his family, his loved ones, and to the whole ultra running community that he influences regularly on the East Coast. In other news, the Gorge 50K film, I released it on Friday. That is up on the YouTube page. You can go check that out. A lot of you already have, and I'm really, really excited that many of you have enjoyed the video. I appreciate that and have shared it with your running communities or your friends or on social media. That is excellent, and I very much appreciate it. I will be doing a Patreon-only stream this Thursday, so if you were over on the Patreon side and help contributing to this whole channel and everything that I'm doing, I will be doing a Patreon-only live stream this Thursday. I will be posting it over there for you to find the link and stuff like that. And then the final announcement before we get into the Alex Varner business, and I mean like deep business, deep V business, is this. This will be going on sale for all of you to pre-order this Friday. This is the brand new limited edition Ginger Runner Camp Cap. And I will be doing a video announcement and all that kind of stuff. This will be limited edition pre-order. It'll be a short pre-order window because I just want to start making them. They do take a long time to manufacture, so I'm going to keep that window open for maybe a week and a half, depending on traffic. But that will start on Friday, and I'm very excited about these. I've been wearing this one a lot, and it's surprisingly clean. That's how excited I am about these, is because I've sweated in these. I've raced in it, and it's held up incredibly well. And even on the bottom there, train hard, race hard, or party hard. I'm pretty excited about these, and I can't wait for you guys to get your hands on them. So keep your eyes open on social media, because I will be announcing those this coming week. Now, that's it. That's it for announcements. I'm done. Alex Varner, I'm wasting your time because we don't have much time with you. Let's talk about Lake Sonoma. So course record at Lake Sonoma this year. This is your second time running that race. The first time was your first 50-miler.
Yep.
Talk about your mindset going into this race. The competition was, and is always at that race, pretty fierce. Talk about kind of the weeks leading up to the race and maybe some expectations.
Weeks leading up to it, I've been working with Jason Coop since September, and he got me in good shape in the few months that we had before North Face. And then coming out of North Face, I decided I didn't want to race way too cool. I wasn't sure there was an exact reason. It just didn't kind of speak to me this year. It was it's a great race. It was fun running with Vargo the whole time last year. It wasn't just because I got outkicked in the last 200 of a 50K. But it just, so I took that opportunity and kind of to not race and not have to worry about kind of peaking for another race, and just trained for basically, 2.5, probably 3 straight months, I guess, almost all in January, February, March. And then, so maybe 13, 14 solid weeks of just training. And I was running, the beginning I started out running like VO2 max stuff. So I was doing 3-minute intervals. And then after a couple weeks of that, I moved to longer kind of lactate threshold tempo type stuff. So I got up to, 3 by 15-minute intervals, all over kind of up, down, varied terrain, what have you. Long runs got up to 3.5, 4 hours. I think my peak week was like 99 miles, between 95 and 100. And I have, like a down week in there, which was, which is always necessary in there to kind of recover and recoup in the middle of a solid training block, which was down week was maybe 70 miles, I think. But the intensity was also way lower, even though that mileage drop doesn't seem like a ton. But yeah, heading into Sonoma, I knew I wanted to run well. I knew I was set up to run well. It was just a matter of kind of executing. I had some doubts of myself. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Just having, I won the first 2 ultras I ran, which were 50Ks in 2013, and then placed well in every other race I ran, but didn't win a single one in 2014. And a couple of times on my training runs and workouts, that was a big motivator. I'd kind of get in a little funk at times and just think like, what if I'm a top 5 runner? Maybe I'll never win one. That happens to some people, and it's not completely unrealistic that every time I go out to race, somebody shows up who's faster than me. It might not be probably won't be the same person, but there are a lot of people out there who are faster, whether it be overall or on any given day. And there's a lot of things that are out of your control. And so, that was kind of a motivator in those workouts to just take those extra couple steps, push a little bit harder up over that hill, what have you. So yeah, going into the race, I was confident. I thought if I had a good race, I'd contend to win, if not podium. I was 4th last year, and knowing the course is a huge benefit up in Sonoma.
Yeah.
I mean, people, I was talking with Tim Tollefson beforehand and his wife Lindsay, and they were asking about it, and I said it's nothing like North Face. The longest you'll climb is 4 or 5 minutes maybe, but there's 10,000. There's as much climbing as North Face, and it's and it's deceptive. It's I told him it was kind of death by 1,000 cuts, where there's no flat part on the course. You're either going up or down, and knowing that was coming was a big advantage, especially in the last 12 miles or so. I was able to kind of meet my effort out and play it a little bit better than I did last year. And also tactically, I wanted to change things up a little bit. I've gone out, Lake Sonoma last year was my first 50, Western Texas is my first 100, TNF was my third 50 miler, or second 50 miler, sorry. And I went out very conservatively in all of those, with the main goal of finishing strong and don't blow up. And this time around, I kind of wanted to put myself up closer to the front. Not that I haven't been close in the other races, but closer earlier on. If it's single track trail, and if there's 10 guys running down the trail, there might be 30 seconds separating the first and the last guy. And if somebody goes off the front, that last guy can't cover, even if he's able to. Just you can't get by 9 people in the amount of time, and they might be gone. So I kind of purposely put myself up towards the front, just to have that opportunity to either make a move if I felt it, or cover a move if somebody made it. And that was kind of where I was tactically heading into the race.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually interesting to hear you say that, because I haven't run the race, not quite familiar with the trails, but everything I've heard from people is that the first mile or like 3 miles or something is very wide and open, but the second you get to the single track, it's like
it's 2.5 miles on like paved road.
Okay.
Like you're on fully paved roads. It's like a road marathon almost. People are taking tangents and what have you, and then you kind of funnel down and you hit the single track, and kind of I was running with the front pack that whole road section, but I knew that as soon as we got within half a mile of the single track, I kind of pushed myself up to the front, just because we're all going the same pace. And at this point I was confident, more confident than I've been going into a race. So I figured I might as well be up there rather than kind of be at risk of getting dropped off the back. If somebody in the middle falls back, but by the time you realize it, the lead pack might be gone, even if you feel good. So there's all sorts of factors that kind of negates.
Yeah, and one thing that I know about you is that you have a road running background. You've run a number of road marathons. You do a lot of training every week in the circle. In this scenario, do you think that really kind of comes to your benefit, at least on this course, because it is so runnable, despite the fact that there's a lot of elevation? None of it's necessarily technical, so you have that built-in speed. Does that come to your benefit?
I'm not sure. I think I think on this course less so than on a course like North Face, honestly. I found that I like courses where you put your head down and you climb for 15, 20, 30 minutes.
Okay.
And that's it. You get in a gear and you grind, and that suits me a little bit better than kind of changing gears and going back and forth, as you might in a track race or a road 5K. A road marathon, again, you kind of find your gear and you set it and forget it almost, and just kind of push and push until you can't. and this Sonoma is much more about changing gears because you're constantly going from up to down to up to down. I mean, when we were out there, I kind of it was me, Ryan Bach, and Mike Aish, who were behind Jim Walmsley.
Yeah,
and
Walmsley, yeah.
I wasn't sure who he was at first, but then somebody said, "Oh, that's Walmsley," and I knew that I heard the name, I knew he'd run JFK, and so when he went off the front, or he won JFK, when he went off the front, it was like, uh-oh. Last year, the guy who won JFK went off the front and won as well. So maybe this is going to be that again. And that was on my mind, is kind of being close to the front as well, kind of keeping him in sight. But to go back to that changing gears is, it was very obvious between our group and him. For a while he pushed the lead out to maybe a minute and a half, and he was out of sight. And then eventually, on some of the bigger climbs towards after the first aid station at Warm Springs, between miles 12 and 15 and 17, we would see him coming back on the climbs. And as soon as he crested the climbs, he put 20 seconds on us in like 200 meters. And he was just blow it out as soon as he could hit a flatter it down. So that was a little worrisome because he looked so fresh and great on the downhills. But then you're thinking, well, the 3 big climbs are yet to come, and we've got to go all the way back. And you slow down more on the uphills than you speed up on the downhills, as a kind of a rule of thumb. So I was not confident, but kind of optimistic that if nothing else, we could run with him. If not, if he didn't fall behind, we would be running with him. And so that kind of shifting gears, worked out. I've been working on it a little bit more in training, running the intervals over mixed terrain. So I get in the gear and grind for 3 minutes, and then the next 3 minutes of my interval are on flat, and then up more, and then flat, and then down. So I'm getting more accustomed to that. But Sonoma is definitely not a course that I would pick that is my strong suit.
Got it. I mean, you proved that it's obviously a suit you'd like to wear with an incredible course record of 6:09:39. That is incredibly fast and incredibly impressive. Especially with the influx of all the young fast guys that are just going balls to the wall, with no cares and winning these races and getting these course records and stuff like that. It's a very impressive time.
Thank you.
Impressive. And also Stephanie Marie Howe, also with the female win on the other side, is also.
She annihilated the course record.
Absolutely annihilated it.
It was like 15 minutes or something.
It was over 15 minutes, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. We have a number of live questions from live viewers. I want to make sure I get these as they kind of scroll through. This one's from Devin Murphy. How far are your 4-hour runs?
So I guess they got up to probably 25, 26 miles. So you're not going incredibly fast. At that point, it's kind of more about time on feet. And a lot of the times I would do that. I do my long runs generally on Sundays. And so Saturdays, Coop usually gives me a workout. So I'll run, at the peak, it was 10 by 3 minute intervals, or 3 by 15 or 3 by 20 within a 2.5 hour run. So I would cover 18 or 20 miles on Saturday. And I would cover more ground relatively because I'm doing the workout. So I'm running at faster paces within that time. And then Sunday would be 23, 25, 26 miles in 4 hours. So, a good weekend, I would hit 40 or 45 miles. And
mixed terrain, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Often I like to, on the longer runs when I know I'm tired, I'll tend to probably go a little bit more vertical just because you're going slow anyways. And you get kind of the added strength of and added mental benefit of just grinding up long hills when you're tired, which is a pretty key factor in what we do.
And also an interesting point, you train in an area that is kind of becoming this hotbed with incredible runners. Jorge won the San Luis Obispo marathon this last weekend. Brett Rivers, the Diablo 50K, I think 2 weekends ago.
They both set course records in those.
Yeah, and Dylan Bowman, an incredible athlete as well. I mean, you have this whole crew of Marin boys.
Danucci getting into Gorge 100K.
Danucci, who's in the Chasing Western film that I did.
Yeah, exactly.
You train with all these guys. Does that actually? That's the question. Do you train with these guys? Does that help you? Does it give you an added benefit because you know how they run? Did that influence anything at Lake Sonoma?
I do train with them. The Saturday morning SFRC, San Francisco Running Company runs are a pastime of many of ours. And often guys will have workouts to run, and so we kind of try to, you either do a little bit before and start with the group and kind of go off on your own and finish with them, or you do it before. I've done it where I've done it beforehand and then gone on the run as kind of a really long cool down. So we are, running with each other, and if not, there's always a brunch at Devin and Nathan's bakery to hang out with afterwards. And then Sundays, usually most guys are going long on Sundays, so whether it be 2, 3, 4 hours, we've got a crew of 5, 6, 7 guys, pretty regularly that we can tap into, and usually find at least a running partner or two, even if they're not guys kind of, I don't want to say, I hesitate to say core group. But if they're not kind of the guys who are getting, placing well in races, there's still 7, 8, 9, 10 other guys who are doing track workouts with the Bay Bros and the Bay Birds, and who are out, racing cool in Sonoma and placing in the top, 10%. So there's no shortage of fit guys to go run with. And when you're running long, it's not so much about pushing the pace. It's more about time on feet and kind of getting in some good climbing, at least for me. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. So I'm much less worried about, when, we're running 9-minute miles instead of 7-minute miles. Same difference. Yeah.
Same difference. Let's talk about the distance now. This is your third 50-mile distance. You will be running Western since you placed 7th last year, I'm assuming.
Yes, I will be running Western.
Does the distance scare you anymore? You have these huge mileage weeks. You do all this training. You go into these large ultramarathon races. You're still fairly new. I hate to even say that because you're seasoned. Does the distance terrify you at all anymore, or is it just like, am I going to win or not?
No, the distance is definitely still a factor. Anytime you're out on your feet for even 50K, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. You think about, 50K, way too cool's one in what, 3:05. The 10 fastest times are all under 3:30, and that's only 19 miles longer to a 50 miler, and yet 50 milers, you run those 19 miles in 3 hours, if you were to extrapolate. So the pace is definitely slowed down. There's a lot more to take into consideration. The body does, at least mine has proved that it can do some really weird things after 35, 40 miles, in terms of what it wants to eat, what it can digest, or what it wants, what it can handle might be also two entirely different things. What works, whether it be, with a pack or running with ice on your head or what have you. And then 100 miles is still a whole nother level. When you're out for 12, 14, 16, Western 30 hours, people are out there for that long. That's 2 sunrises, a full night. Weird stuff can happen. And I think there's a lot of, at least I've felt that in the races I've, especially at Sonoma, it's a very fine line between a great performance and a complete blow up. It's a very, very fine line, and I'm not sure if people realize how close you come. There were a couple times at Sonoma where I started to cramp, and it was very, very quickly became a possibility that I would be walking the last 10 miles.
Wow.
It was a very real, I went, there was about a minute where I couldn't take a step without cramping. And I don't advertise that, but it happens. And I think, any guy who's won a big race would be lying if it didn't happen. You look at North Face and Sage and Dakota going at it up the front too, and Dakota passes Sage. Sage throws up. At that moment, I'm sure he was thinking, "Oh crap, what's going on? I got to get this under control." And then he bounces back and is able to run down the win. But it's just something in every performance. If it's a good, if you've knocked it out of the park, even if you don't finish first, you can still knock it out of the park. But it's a very fine line that you tread between total success and complete and utter disaster.
Yeah, we've actually had Sage talk about that on the show. That exact thing of like you're basically running up to this cliff edge and you're tiptoeing along it, and
Yeah.
the second you push too far, all sorts of bad things can happen. But as long as
Yeah.
you tiptoe that, great things can happen.
Exactly.
Kilo Sabe 75 in the chat room says, Alex, how often do you have a down week in a training cycle? And how do you know how hard to push and when to back off a bit? Do you do the 2 to 1 week or 3 to 1 week or even more than that?
Let me pull up Strava here real quick, and I can tell you. So I think in the let's see, in the 10 weeks leading up to, or what was it? Come on, let's load. So I had, I guess what you could call, I mean, looking back at this, I ever had 2 to 3, usually 3 workouts a week. Out of the 14 weeks before Sonoma, I ran 2 to 3 workouts a week, 12 times. One of those weeks was I ran a half marathon. Or no, that counted as a workout. One of those weeks was a down week, and the other one was the week of the race. So it's more like a 10 to 1 ratio. But again, I have to shift things around. I'm not running the same days each week in terms of workouts. It might be Tuesday, Wednesday one week, and then Thursday or Wednesday, Thursday the next week. So the rest can be, some days I'll get, Monday I'll do a workout Saturday, long run Sunday, Monday completely off, Tuesday really easy, and then workout Wednesday, Thursday. So you have 2 kind of full days of recovery in there. And other weeks it'll be, Saturday, Sunday, or as I described, Monday off, and then Tuesday workout. And then I'll have easy days, Thursday, Friday. So it can depend on kind of how it falls within the week. And in terms of who makes that decision, it's funny, I was talking on my run yesterday with Io's husband, Sean, and we were talking about how great it would be if we could take decision making out of the hands of humans, because we're terrible decision makers. As any runner who's ever had an injury knows, the rational thing is not the choice that we are good at making. And kind of outsourcing that to Coop has been huge, because if I feel anything particular in a workout, all I have to do is write it down, and then he makes the decision.
Yeah.
And so if I say, this, and this happened, and I felt really dead, and da-da-da, he'll be like, all right, tomorrow, don't run the workout that's scheduled. Take it off or run it easy, and tell me how you feel the following day, and then we can play it by ear. And having someone there to tell me to do that is so much easier than telling myself to do that. Because I would have the same data input when I was coaching myself, but the output, the decision that was made was not the same, because I would sit there and I would hem and haw over, why do I feel bad? Why do I feel tired? I won't feel tired tomorrow because I didn't run a good workout today. Well, a bad workout makes you just as tired as a good workout does, oftentimes. It just feels worse. And so having someone there to make that decision about rest weeks and rest days and that sort of thing is hugely beneficial.
And just for those of you who are watching live, Alex refers to Coop, or Jason Coop, who is his coach and is actually the coach of many ultra runners. And I'm going to have him on the show. I believe he's in Europe right now, but in the coming weeks, we're going to actually have him on, because I can't tell you how many elites I've had mention his name. And it's like, oh, yeah, he's my coach. I'm like, I got to get him on, because this guy's obviously training some of the best. So I can't wait to pick his brain. So he'll be on a future episode. But that is who Alex is referring to, and he refers to a coach. Now, Alex, let's see. Zev Robbins has a great question, and this is something I kind of want to talk about before I get to the question. Let's talk about the Lake Sonoma 50 finish. Again, course record 6:09:39, an incredible performance. When you finished that race, how wrecked were you? Were you able to, because you knew in your mind you had Boston 9 days later, because Boston you've been signed up for quite a while.
Yeah.
Did that influence anything that you did at Lake Sonoma? Did you care about Boston at that point? You just wanted to win Lake Sonoma. And how was that 9 days between? And I'll get to Zed's question here in a second.
Yeah, Boston played no role in my energy expenditure at Sonoma. Sonoma was the goal. You're signed up for Boston 6 months in advance just because that's the way the race registration works for them. But yeah, Sonoma was the goal. So no, Boston didn't occur to me to be, I should save something for that. I was fully planning on it being just a really long, tired, fun run. And was completely okay with that. The spectators and the setup of that race is such that you can be the fastest guy, you can be the slowest guy. Well, the slowest guy probably has more fun than the fastest guy. But it's such that I was not worried about, if I can't run fast, why am I going to Boston? You're there for the race is almost, well, it's not secondary, but it's just a part of the whole 3 or 4 days surrounding it, where you've got the 5K, and you've got 50,000 people who have come in to race and watch their friends and family race. So it's just a fun weekend to go to. Even you book your plane flight and your hotel in advance, and so even if I'd been truly injured after Sonoma, I probably still would have gone and just watched.
Yeah.
And then the 9 days between Sonoma and Boston were interesting. I had the same situation last year, and I learned a bit from that. I scheduled a massage just to purely flush everything. I wasn't trying to fix anything. I was just trying to flush. And after Sonoma, my quads and my hamstrings felt the worst. My quads, those were what were cramping in the last 10 miles for me, or threatening to cramp. And those were just absolutely wrecked. I didn't run Sunday or Monday. I think I ran Tuesday. Let's see here. I ran super easy, like Tuesday through Friday, took Saturday off. And I felt better throughout the week. My legs felt better. The massage helped. Kind of junk got flushed out. And then Sunday on the shakeout in Boston, I felt good. I was surprised. And I think part of that came from I started doing hip and back and a little bit more kind of core maintenance exercises that I wasn't doing before Sonoma last year. And afterwards, my hip flexors were so wrecked that I realized I need to do some sort of strengthening in addition to what I've been doing, because what I've been doing is not enough. So that helped as well. Just kind of, daily, it's literally 3 or 4 minutes a day, but you do it every day for a year. And that's, an extra 6 hours a core that you didn't have. So it's that made a big difference, I think, just being a little bit smarter and having Coop there for the recovery, and him being like, don't run fast, don't run fast, don't run fast. If you're tired, don't run. Was great. And so, Sunday I was cautiously optimistic. But last year I went out and I felt pretty good as well. And then mile 16, the wheels kind of came off. So this year, I went out and we talked beforehand, and he said, what, if you feel good, start off with a couple miles, see how you feel. If you feel good, keep going and go till it doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, then back right off. And you'll have a little bit less recovery. If you feel bad now, you'll be more rested. But if you feel good and you run a strong race, you get a little bit more recovery, and we'll start workouts 3 or 4 days later. And that was kind of the only difference between if I ran well or didn't.
That's pretty excellent. And it's nice to know that you have that other voice kind of keeping you in line. I'm sure that helps you a lot.
Yes.
Zeb's question was, Alex, tips for not screwing up a taper. Now, in this case, you knew going into this that you had Lake Sonoma 50 followed by the Boston, but you just also clarified that Boston wasn't necessarily even a factor. It was, if Lake Sonoma ruined you, you wouldn't run it. Leading into this, did the taper change from a typical race for you for Lake Sonoma? Was it a 2-week taper? Did you change anything? How did you not screw it up? Because you obviously did great.
The taper for me has been probably the hardest thing in training to nail down. I've tried everything from a 6-week, in the years I've been running, I've tried everything from a 6-week taper to a 1-day taper. All going into pretty big races, and the 6-week taper, at least for me, just gets you used to running less miles, so don't do that. The 1-day taper sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, but anyways, that was the hardest part for me to nail down. So the taper for this was based purely towards Sonoma. Again, Boston was just, it might as well have not have been happening.
Right.
So going into it, so I guess, let's see, race week was April 11th was the race. So the week leading up to that, I ran one workout, and it was literally an hour long total with warm up, cool down, rest. And I think I did 3 by 6 minutes or something. and it felt great. The week before that, I did 2 workouts at normal. One workout at normal volume, one workout at kind of 2/3 volume.
Yeah.
So if I've been running 45 minutes of tempo, the first workout was like, well, it was a little bit less, I guess. It was like 36 minutes. And then the second workout was like 24. So maybe 2/3 and half is more accurate. But the week before that was full on. It was, that was 2 weeks out. I'm training fully. I ran, my second highest mileage week. My long run was 25 miles. I hit 50 miles that weekend alone. So 2 weeks out, full bore. You kind of cut things 2/3, maybe the week leading in. For me, what I've found the key is keeping up intensity, but not doing so in a manner that fatigues you. And my rule of thumb is generally anything closer than 10 days out, you're not going to get any benefit from before race. All it can do is tire you out.
Yeah.
So don't, if you are trying to run a key workout, don't do it 8 days before the race. Do it 12 or 13 days, or 11, 12, 13 days before the race. And this is different for everybody, but this is kind of my rule of thumb. And if you run a bad workout within a week or 10 days of the race, don't stress. It's not going to affect you. You're not going to gain anything from it. All it's going to do is tire you out. So it doesn't, at that point, the hay's in the barn. It doesn't really matter. So it's kind of a matter of finding out what works for you and what keeps I guess for me, it's keeping my muscles recruited and yet not tired. And that can vary for everybody. In college, we would run before a big 5K. Our final workout would be like a 1,500 meter race the week before. And then you do like 3 or 4 800s at fast pace, but with a lot of rest. Okay. And then you run the 5K, and that was it. And it was just a matter of kind of, feeling, the goal for me at least is to feel loose, quick, and light after that final workout. And if you've done that, then you're probably in pretty good shape. And your legs should feel bad during the taper. That's just the way tapers are. Everybody complains. The taper tantrum is very real. If you've done it, if you're doing it well, you should not only feel oddly bad, but also quite squishy.
I read your race report and you talked about feeling squishy before Lake Sonoma, but you said it didn't happen until the night before with the pizza, pasta, and pizza.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're doing it, I've felt squishy weeks before, Boston, when I ran my PR there, I was squishy for like 2 weeks before that. It's just an awful feeling.
Welcome to the club. I'm about 2 weeks out for my first 100K in a couple of years, and I feel squishy.
Yeah.
Granted, it might be the pizza and the beer and all that stuff, but that squishy feeling, it's right on.
There's nothing like it.
Nothing quite like that tapering squishy. There's still a number of questions, so I know that we have to let you go, Alex. I want to make sure that I ask as many as possible before we have to let you go.
Sure.
This is a great one. This is from Pete Kresak. Alex, where do you come up with the titles for your Strava activities?
Usually it's something that happens on my run. Whether it be, if it's a song title, it might be somebody drove by in their car blasting that song. Or if I see somebody that I know, I try to incorporate them. Puns are fun. Just today, some tourist walking down the Embarcadero just yelled at me, pretty legs, pretty legs. So there's your title. And she was overweight and with 4 of her overweight friends, and Kat called me and whatever. But yeah, it's usually inspiration from what happens around the race, or sometimes I'll just have a song stuck in my head from that morning, and that gets the some random lyric in there gets the nod.
Yeah, people were really curious about that. This is from Raul Engel. Alex, referencing your I Run Far interview, now that you've proven to yourself that you can win a race, what are your plans for the next race?
Well, the next race is completely out of my comfort zone. It's World Championships in France on May 30th. And that's 53 miles with 17,000 feet of climbing. Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. So that's going to be another one where I go back to the conservative method of racing.
Wow.
Yeah, that should be interesting. And then that's only 4 weeks before Western, so Western might be a little touched by that. So I mean, again, it's definitely given me some confidence to go into races, kind of not being as afraid to be up near the front earlier on. And that's kind of where I sit. That's my plan at Worlds and at Western to kind of put myself up in the mix a little bit more, and see what happens. I'm not, if a bad race happens, It happens to everybody. I don't live and die with my results, which I think is healthy, and I hope is healthy. And so failure is an option. It's it happens. I think I was reading what was it, Kate Grace, one of the Wazelle folks. I think she's also on Picky Bars too, which is I think where I got the link. But anyway, she was talking about how she wanted to push outside of her comfort zone, and people are afraid of failure. That's kind of natural. It's not a fun thing to do. But once you do it, it happens. Especially in something like running, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Life goes on. Hopefully nobody died. My body is still here. And I pick myself up, dust myself off, and go about my business for the next time and learn from it. And often you learn more by what doesn't go right than what does go right. So I think that's kind of what I'm trying to kind of implement more in my race tactics this year is don't be afraid to fail. You can't win a race if you don't if you don't think you can, and if you don't put yourself in a position to do so.
I love it. I love that. Before we let you go, we got to know the gear. I know that you're a sneakerhead. What was the gear that you used for these two races?
So for Sonoma, I ran in the Kiger ones. Yeah, there may have been a little superstition there as well, since I hadn't won a race since the last time I wore those. But I was decided between those and the twos. And they just spoke to me one day, and the decision was made. The shorts were the Nike Kit shorts. The top was our Nike Team Kit, our Nike Team top. I had
the same custom one with the holes, right? The custom holes on the back, yeah.
Yeah. Which really makes you feel aerodynamic and gets a great tan line. But yeah, I had some funny malfunction with my shorts, which I wrote about, but the pockets ended up falling out after 200 plus miles of racing. They finally said enough is enough. But I have one sewn back in, so I've got one pocket intact.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then in Boston, I ran in my West Valley singlet. I ran in the Nike filament half tights, which are fantastic. They have one zippered pocket and one non-zippered pocket that sit right on your hip. And I had 7 goos in there with no bouncing, which was
that's great.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. 7 plus a credit card, a room key, and an ID. No bouncing whatsoever, so they were fantastic. I had a Nike buff that I guilted Sally into giving me because she said she had like 6 of those flower printed ones, and I said, "Well, share some love," and she was kind enough to give me one. And then the shoes were a pair of wear testers that I don't think I'm allowed to comment more than that. But they worked great, and they're coming at some point in the future, I believe.
That is excellent. I know that we actually have to let Alex go. It is getting late up in Marin. It's almost bedtime for Alex. He does have a regular day job. I don't know if you can believe it. What races are next for you? Where can people at least keep up to date with you, social media and stuff like that, or follow you for the races?
Yeah, so the schedule upcoming is, I guess technically my next race is probably going to be Beta Breakers, where I will run as part of my West Valley Team Centipede. If you're wondering what that is
this year, right? You're all naked this year?
If you're wondering what that is, just Google Beta Breakers Centipede and you will see what happens. And a lot more. After that, it's World Championships on May 30th in France, Western States, June 27th, I believe. See you in Squaw. And then I'm going over to France again for CCC, which is part of the UTMB circuit. And that'll be, and then after that, I don't know. Maybe I'm signed up for North Face, but the Quad Dipsy is always there. And there's a lot of cross country races in the fall, and Club Cross Country Nationals are in San Francisco in December. So if you need motivation to come out, it's a great course. We ran it last year, and San Francisco was awesome, and we're trying to put on a great party afterwards.
That's pretty awesome. You always put up good parties there. Deuce, the Deuce. also say that's awesome that you're doing the CCC. I think it's going to be great. I think you're going to do incredibly well there. That's a race that I'm adding to my calendar, hopefully someday. All right. Well, that's it. I'm going to let you go, man. For those of you who are watching live, go follow Alex Varner on social media. On Twitter, it's at AF Varner.
Everything's AF Varner.
Yeah. And then what's your blog again? I know
it's and miles to go before I eat.
So go check it out. He just has race reports up there too from both Boston and Lake Sonoma. So if you can get a full rundown of what happened in both of those races, and make sure you follow him on Strava, because that's a great way to feel bad about yourself, bad about your training, but also inspire you to maybe train a little bit harder, because he's pretty much got it dialed in at this point, and it's really fun to follow. And the names of the Strava activities are dynamite.
I appreciate it.
You always wonder what happened. Why is this named like this? And we'll never know. Sometimes it's just personal to Alex. So, dude, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight, man. I bow down to you. Your talent is immeasurable, and I can't wait to see what you do. This is the year of the Varner.
I appreciate the vote of confidence. Thanks for having me, and hope that ankle keeps holding up well.
Yeah, me too. Got 100K in 2 weeks. Let's see if it can last 62 miles.
Best of luck with that. Sorry I was not able to take you up on your offer there.
No problem. No problem. Have fun. We'll
go kick some by yourself.
Yeah, well, I will, dude. Good to see
you.
All
right, man. See ya.
So now that Alex is going to take off, I'm going to kind of move into the post show. I will stick around a little bit for the post show and try to field as many of these questions as possible. And we're going to talk a little bit about the hat and a whole bunch of cool new stuff that's happening here at GRHQ. I guess that's what I'm calling it. It's a blank white wall at this point, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the post show. So that is it. Again, go follow Alex. He's an incredible athlete, a really, really motivating guy to follow. Incredibly talented, and it's going to be a really fun year to see what he's able to do, especially overseas now that he's racing in France and stuff like that. Those of you who are watching live, again, I thank you for tuning in every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to watch Ginger Runner live. I have so much fun doing this and talking to people and seeing you guys jump in there week after week. And I have to commend you all on being so cordial. What I've noticed in the last month or two is anytime someone just drops into the chat room, they'll say, "Hey, what's up, everybody?" And then like 4 or 5 people will say, "Hey, what's up?" Insert name here. And I think that's really cool. We're kind of building this weekly community where people will come back and recognize each other and talk to each other and pick up conversations. And it's really neat. I was going to use the F word, but I know there's usually kids watching too. I love it. We're going to move into the post show. That's it. Thank you for watching live. If you would like to stick around and, get some more juicy details and stuff like that, do it, because this is the one time that the post show actually exists, because it doesn't exist in the podcast form. We'll see you guys then. Thanks for tuning in every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Subscribe. Welcome to the post show. I have to comment on this. Is really hilarious. Nathan Tobin. When Alex Varner finishes a race, is that called varnishing? I like it. You just got varnished is when he beats you, which is going to happen a lot for a lot of people. That guy is incredibly fast, and he's also very forthcoming with training information. And he's a lot like Sage. They both have that same kind of mentality where it's like, listen, my training is going to be out there for the public to see. Not a huge deal. No problem talking about it. And I think that's great. It's not like it's going to give a competitor some sort of edge, seeing what they're doing in training, because come race day, you never know how the performance is going to pan out. Yeah. So I love that some elites and professionals are actually coming out with that. And I forgot to commend him on his new Picky Bar sponsorship as well. He's sponsored by Picky Bar now, which is really neat. And I've been eating some of those every once in a while, and they're really delicious. And the whole crew has been really supportive of everything that we're doing here. So Bannock, oh my God, Bannock Wheeler, Ethan, are you running the San Francisco Marathon? I am unsure at this point. That's actually something I haven't really planned out much beyond the next 2 races, which are going to be Quicksilver 100K, which is in 2 weeks, 2 weekends, which is terrifying, and Cascade Crest 100 miler in August, at the end of August. So those at this point are the 2 races that I'm scheduled to run this year. But I plan on sticking some other races in there to kind of fill up the calendar, not overwhelm my legs or my body, but to I will do something in July or June. to help get the legs ready for Cascade Crest. There's a couple up in the Northwest that I want to run. So I'll be doing stuff like that. But the San Francisco Marathon may not work this year because of the 100-miler. Trying to get as many long weekends in as possible. Not that I couldn't do it there. It's just, we'll see. I love that race. I think it's a fantastic road marathon, and I would love to go back. And I love San Francisco and get to hang out with people like Alex and everyone else up in that area who also run it. It's a beautiful marathon. Tough, but beautiful. So I just want to give some shout outs to everyone that's in the chat room that comes back week to week. Raul Engel, Raul Borgia, Sam Giroux, I always do this wrong, and I can't see because my computer's so far away in the new studio. Kelope Zero and Baker McCool. You guys, Phil LaCroix. Week after week, you all come back and watch the show. I think that's really, really awesome. Raul asked, do you have a pacer for Cascade Crest? Still working on the crew because I'm balancing. I have a list of people that are potential crew, potential filmers, and potential pacers. So it's kind of a mix of who can I get to do what, because I obviously want to make a film documenting the first 100, because it's terrifying thinking about running 100 miles. It's one of those experiences that I'm so excited to partake in and to enjoy and to live in those moments and those hours out there on the trail that day. But it's also terrifying because you're like, okay, well, it's 20,000+ feet of elevation. I think it's 24,000 or 23,000 over 100 miles, and it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to think of that. If I haven't run it before, I haven't run that distance. So it's totally overwhelming. Devin Murphy, when are you going to do an East Coast race? Hopefully soon. So it has been, the problem has always been cost. I just can't afford to fly out to the East Coast a lot. And same with Europe. I even got a question recently of like, are you scared of racing in Europe? It's like, no, I can't afford it. It's expensive. But with the new Patreon support, that will hopefully be something I can do. At this point, we're just under breaking even. So the goal is to get to the point where I can actually put money towards travel costs, hotel, a rental car, and paying for the race entry and all that kind of stuff. I want to get to the East Coast. I can't tell you how many races people have been like, you got to come race blank race. It's amazing. It's tough and all this. I'm like, oh my God, I would love to. It's just, that's $1,000 or $1,500 trip all encompassing. So it's tough, but it's on the yes must do list. So before I forget, and before a lot of you guys end up tuning out or getting too drunk and moving on, the hat. So I want to talk a little bit about this hat. We will be doing pre-sales first for Patreon supporters. That Patreon window will be short because the Patreon members tend to be fairly up to date and tend to follow me across the social media and stuff like that, which is great. But for those of you who are Patreon supporters, I appreciate it. And to show you my appreciation, I will be giving many of you the advanced notification to pre-order this. It won't necessarily get you the hat faster, but it will absolutely guarantee you getting a hat, and in some cases a discount on the hat. Publicly, this will be released for everybody for a good week. I'm thinking it might be even closer to like 10 or 12 days to leave the pre-order open, because I'm not going through my website this time. As I learned with the last model, anytime anyone would visit it, it would crash. So we would have hundreds of people like, I want to get the wrap, and it's like the website would crash within seconds. So I'm doing it off-site. I'm now doing it through Shopify, which I'm actually pretty excited about. I'm setting it up right now. But this will be available for pre-order limited edition for probably close to 10 days. That way it gives people ample time to see the link, see the video, go see if it's something that they would like to add to their closet, and then purchase. So I'll just, since this is a live show and you guys are watching, and this tends to, some people stick around for the post show, some people don't. Those of you who are watching live, I'm going to give you all the details, all the breakdown. Underneath the bill is a custom artwork, which I designed. I don't want to hit the mic here. This is going to change a little bit on production models, but we have a topographical map there: train hard, race hard, to party hardest, and of course the signature colored triangles and stuff like that I've been designing. The topographical map is of one of my favorite locations that I've ever experienced, and that's Yosemite National Park, because it has there's a lot of like emotional connection to me to this park both myself and Kim. So I made sure to include that in there, and some of our favorite trails, including Half Dome right here, which continues to loom over us. Then of course on the front here is the Ginger Runner badge. It's kind of a cool little take on it with the letters and the colors and the triangles, but then there's also a subtle topographical map on the black section there as well. I'm going to kind of change a little bit of that so it's a little bit brighter, easier to see. On the side, a nice fluorescent yellow mesh and a really light white fabric that basically covers the rest of the head. I did that on purpose because I know that this hat will most likely be manufactured close to the summer months. So I needed to make sure that, one, it works in heat and it reflects as much heat as possible. And it works great at Lake Leona Divide. I ran in this hat. At Gorge, I ran in this hat. 2 completely different climates. And in both cases, it worked awesome. At Gorge, it kept my head protected from the sun and it was well ventilated. At Leona Divide, it was great because I was able to even shove ice, basically just dropped a bunch of ice in there, tossed it on my head, and was able to run with a bunch of ice. And it didn't fall out, it didn't drain out, it just kind of soaked into the hat and down the head. And it was great to keep my head cool and my body cool. So that's what I'm really excited about, is that this has to be great for the summertime months and the wintertime months. It's not gonna let too much moisture in, all that kind of stuff like rain and weather and all that, wind. I'm just really excited. So it took a long time to get the sample, get the fabrics chosen, get the colors chosen, get everything kind of worked out with the manufacturer, but we're good to go. So this is the new limited edition Ginger Runner topographical designed camp cap, and this will be available for pre-order this week. Really, really excited about that. What kind of training plan or long runs are you doing for Cascade Crest? Pete, that is still under debate. So I'm going to be doing a lot of double weekends, a lot of similar training weekends that I did for Squamish 50/50 last year, back-to-backs. I will be doing some speed workouts during the week that will hopefully allow me to do these longer runs a little bit faster and not really have to rely on just like being slow and steady, but also being able to like increase my pace, because I would really like to do well at Cascade Crest and not completely just fall apart. So my calendar, or I'm sorry, my race or my training schedule hasn't necessarily been fleshed out yet, but that will hopefully happen soon, just because I'd like to have some sort of guide so I can take care of all of that. Love the ice on the head. Yeah, Raul, for sure. And especially at that race, it definitely came in handy. Basically, what I'm going through now with Quicksilver 100K in a couple weeks is worrying about the heat. It is a notoriously hot race based off of talking to the race directors and stuff. It's anywhere from 85 to 95 degrees, which is, and some people might be like, oh, that's not hot. 110 is hot. But how this is difficult is that there really is no acclimation period. In LA, we've had some hot weeks, but the last couple of weeks have been all up and down. You've gone from a 60-degree day to an 85-degree day. So there's no way for your body to really adapt. And the only way to really kind of get ready for this sort of heat, if it is in fact going to be 95, is to do sauna training. And I don't have a gym membership, and that's what sucks, is that I don't have the access to the hot sauna. So I've been, turning the heat up in the car, and I don't have the AC on in this room, and it's really hot. Basically, anything I can do to put my body in hot conditions hopefully will allow it to not break down on race day. Like it did at Leona Divide 50K, despite it was just a 50K. And then they had a 50-mile race as well. It was kind of a tester to see, one, it was to kind of get a long run in. It was also to kind of see how I would kind of handle some of that longer heat. And my body is not ready for heat. It's just not ready. Doesn't matter how slow or how easy I'm taking it. My body stopped sweating within maybe an hour or two after starting. My body just was like, you're not going to sweat today. And I could not get it back on track. I don't know what happened. The sun came out pretty early and got warm pretty quick. And my body just didn't sweat. I put in water. I put in salt tabs. I was using Tailwind. I was doing everything. I was pouring water on my arms and my neck and everything. And it just wasn't a happy body. So I'm going to be really curious to see how it handles Quicksilver. I'm hoping for a semi-moderate day, just so I can focus on the distance in the race, as opposed to worrying about the heat, which I've been through before, and it sucks. So, do you keep the bill flat on the hat? In my day, we bent the bill, but I don't want to look like a dork. Can a 48-year-old look cool with the bill? Anyone, anyone. Dan Winters, guess what? So this hat, you can do anything you want with it. I've actually had the hat always. You can bend the bill, totally fine. Because of the camp cap style, it doesn't really matter. You can also bend the bill up. This is how I ran Gorge. It was you can actually see in the video, it actually bends up a little bit. You can also wear it totally flat, which is kind of, I believe the flat is how it will arrive. That's pretty much it. I have also gotten the request, make it big so it can fit big heads, or make it small so it can fit small heads. I wear a 7 3/4 inch hat. I have a huge head. This is the buckle on the back. I have, wait, let's see. Sorry, it's opposite. I have plenty of room to go to loosen it, plenty of room to go to tighten it. I'm pretty much right in the middle there, which is excellent. So if I need to tighten it up, you got plenty of room to go. And if you need to loosen it up, just the other direction, plenty of room to go. That's just right. So for those who like the bill up, you're going to have the bill up, and you have the train hard, race harder, party hardest. If you want the bill down, you can do that. And what I like is that you can actually read. You can read the what is that mantra while you're running, so you can kind of always see it in your peripheral there. So kind of, me personally, kind of keeps me going. I always like the idea of getting that beer at the finish line, or getting that pizza at the finish line, or celebrating your success at the finish line. So I always like having that little mantra there, and it kind of keeps me going forward, which I really, really like, and was definitely something that I wanted to incorporate in the hat. People training for the first marathons. That's excellent. Calope Zero. I've gone from never let me make executive decisions again to, but my next one. Wait, next one? I must have missed the conversation. Training for the first marathon, the Grandfather Mountain Marathon in Boone, North Carolina in June. Get after it. Sounds fun. And training for the first Ultra Sam. Excellent. 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 I always talked about making this channel. This channel will always be endurance sports, not just ultra running. I know that I feel like so many of my guests have been ultra running related. A large portion of what I'm trying to do is also bring in people like Alex is a perfect example. Ellie Greenwood is a perfect example. Sage Canada. These are people who are hybrid athletes where they're running these incredible ultra marathons and also running incredible road marathons, and they're able to do both, and their training is just, it's excellent to follow and excellent to learn from. So I've been really trying to kind of incorporate guests that kind of straddle that threshold of ultra or road expert. So it's been really great to learn from some of these guys and gals, and I want to keep moving forward in that direction. And triathletes as well. It's definitely something that's a goal, is get on more triathletes to talk about Ironman and how training for that works. That's nuts. So look forward to that, because I don't want to just cater strictly to the ultra audience, but it's been great seeing people watch my films. Maybe they come in to the channel because they saw something I said about running your first marathon, or here's some nutrition tips and stuff like that. But then they'll stick around and watch an ultra film, and then they'll think, oh my god, maybe I could do that. And then they go and run their first ultra, and I'll get an email describing the entire race in the process, and it's incredible, super inspiring. Raul says, Ethan, I did the car sauna for Leona 50 miler. See, the car sauna, I'm totally into it. Basically, you crank that heat up in the car, roll up the windows, you boil your ass off in the car while you're driving. As long as you're not driving somewhere where you can't look sweaty or nasty. So, that, like, if I have an audition in Hollywood, I'm not going to be cranking the heat up and rolling into an audition just dripping. Hey, I'm here to audition for the part of dry, not sweaty dude. Ethan, if you could document any race in the world, what would it be? Oh, come on, John Tanner, that question. I don't know. It's tough. Because my bucket list is, man, it's huge at this point. There's so many races I want to run. There's so many things I want to experience, adventures to go on. And it really would depend on logistically how I would do it, if I would have access to crew or, that kind of stuff. I don't think I can answer that. Ethan, it was how long until you, I don't know why I read like this. I'm sorry, I read like I am reading slow. Ethan, it was how long until you felt like signing up for a second marathon? I just did, Big Sur this weekend, thanks to you. Nice. Good choice of marathons. Big Sur is beautiful. As far as beautiful marathons go, yeah, Big Sur is pretty much number one as far as beautiful road marathons. You can't beat it. Just can't. How long did it feel like for my second marathon? So I ran my first marathon in 2001, 2002, I think. It took me until 2007 or 8 to sign up for my second one. The gap was huge. Granted, I had a lot of growing up to do, and I didn't think I was going to run a marathon ever again. It was like, I got to do it, and I did it, and I'm done doing it. But it was the second marathon that I ran many years later, and I just botched it. Totally botched it. Ruined the whole. I was running out too fast, breaking every or making every rookie mistake. Just terrible. And that got to the point where I was like, I'm never running another marathon again. I was able to finish, but it was not pretty. Not when you're bonking by mile 12 because you ran way too fast. That's how fast I was running too early on. It wasn't like I was running screaming fast, but for my training at that point, it was like, you're stupid. I think I ended up just not running a marathon for a while, but I ended up running a couple half marathons and kind of working my way back up. And then when I ran my first marathon and felt good is when I was kind of hooked on the feeling, hooked on that finishing feeling of, feeling the accomplishment. You do all this training leading up to this one day, and it all kind of comes together, and you feel that success, and it kind of became addicting. So I think I did a couple marathons after that before signing up for my first 50K. I mean, I just felt like on top of the world, when you start doing marathons back to back or closer together. So I don't remember for my first marathon, it took years, but I feel like if you had a good time, a good experience, it could be much sooner than that. I know people that run marathons every weekend. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but they do. I'm gonna answer like one more question, then I gotta make dinner with Kim. The three friends and I are documenting our training and race of the Cruel Jewel. Oh boy. In a 2-part doc called The Cruel Jewel Experience, advice to us to get enough B-roll to make a solid storyline. Nathan, my advice to you is to not go into the race with any preconceived notions of storyline, because then you end up feeling like you need to follow some sort of script, or you hope something happens. I would say just document everything. The problem with that is that you're going to have a lot of footage to sort through, but trust me, it's worked to my benefit to worry about the story after you're done filming. So film everything you possibly can. In your case, you have it easy because you're documenting yourself as opposed to trying to document elites or a specific runner. Because what ends up happening is, sometimes a runner will just have a really great race, and then that's the story. You don't want to be like, oh, there's got to be drama and there's got to be this arc, and like sometimes it's just you just got to tell a success story. So I wouldn't go into it with any sort of preconceived notions. I would just film everything you possibly can and then edit it together. That's the best advice. Pacing and volunteering for his goals this year, Raul. I think that would be really, really good. Registered for a vertical K, but I live in Florida. Do you have any suggestions for ways to get high in relatively flat areas? Bridges. I would, one, your title, Western States 420. I don't know if you mean getting high in one sense or the other, but if you're actually talking about getting vertical in while you live in Florida, I would recommend bridges. Find the steepest, craziest bridge around you and do repeats on it. Casey Lichtai was a former guest on the show. She lives in Nebraska, very flat, but manages to, I think she has one hill around her that she just does repeats on. And she does incredibly well at a lot of these races where you're running on mountains. She did incredibly well at Lake Sonoma. I think she was top 10, 9th, I believe. Yeah, she's badass. So she's proof that you can find elevation where there is no elevation, train on it, and still do really, really well at races that have elevation. Ginger Runner asked about this a while ago, but have you had a chance to look at any of the Hoka Speed Goats? Not sure if it is out yet. I think it's spring, summer 2015. I have not looked at it, have not touched it. Plan on getting a review sample hopefully soon, because I'm very interested in that as well. I think that's gonna be pretty much it, guys. I know you guys have been asking a lot of questions and stuff like that. But I gotta get food. Gotta get food in my system and some hydration too, because that's something I didn't do for Leon, and I gotta start doing now for Quicksilver. Thank you again for watching live week after week. You guys come back. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Stay tuned for this week. If you're on the Patreon, look for it sooner. I'll be posting probably Thursday, talking about it during the Patreon only live stream on Thursday. Then, of course, this back wall behind. Oh, look at that pit stain. That's how hot it is in here. That's nasty. The wall behind me is going to be my new set, and the design and the construction of that will be happening over the next couple of weeks. So I'm very excited about that. Doing some reclaimed wood stuff, and probably we'll put up like bib numbers and medals and shoes and trinkets and all sorts of cool running stuff behind me. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but haven't had a solid space where I can build it out until now. Small, it's very small space, but it will happen. So you'll see that kind of unfold in the coming weeks, maybe piece by piece, or I'll unveil it a little bit at a time. And we'll see you guys next week, next Monday. Hope you're getting out there training hard, racing harder, and partying the hardest. I know I am. We'll see you guys next week, Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another Ginger Runner Live. That's it. Bye.